Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel Talks with E. I remain yours truly, Mrs. Daughter O2, coming your way with yet another interesting and exciting episode on this channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome on board. So, how are you doing? How are things getting on with you? God is on your side, and victory is on your side. Thank you so much. So, on today's episode, I want us to discuss a topic that I titled The Assumption Trap. The Assumption Trap. How it can ruin your relationships. How making assumptions can ruin your relationships. So, assumption is a trap that is toxic for relationships of different levels. And what does it mean to be assumptuous? When someone says assumption, what does assumption mean? Assumption simply means holding something to be true without verifying the facts. You are holding something to be true without proof, making judgment about situations, circumstances, things, and people without having the proof. It simply means jumping into a conclusion. It simply means believing in your truth, as they will say it. What is your truth? Is it verifiable? Does your truth have proof? If your truth does not have proof, then it's an assumption. An assumption have a lot of negative consequences in relationship. It damages trust. When you are always assuming things, it makes you to shut down. You are no longer open to reasoning. It closes you down. It closes your heart down. Subsequently, you stop even making effort. You are not accessible. In fact, if you are not careful, you will walk away from relationships based on assumptions. You will make wrong decisions based on assumptions. You are assuming things that are not true, and you are holding on to those assumptions, and you are walking with those assumptions, and it is ruining your relationship. It's making people in relationship not to be trusted. You don't trust people anymore. So it's frustrating. It takes away people's self-esteem from them when they are always doubted. People are tired of wanting to prove themselves to you, and you are not even open to accept any explanation against your assumption. It is very dangerous, and it has destroyed a lot of relationships, personal relationships and professional relationships. When you are assuming things, it means that you are trying to say that you know people more than they know themselves. It is only God that has the absolute knowledge of everything. Sometimes you assume people's personality based on their moods, but you don't even know what has happened to them. Oh, you assume that people don't like you. Oh, I read your body language. Oh, I saw your facial expression. Oh, I saw the way they looked at me. You just go with your feeling. You just feel. You are just being judgmental. In fact, if you are into assuming a lot, you become very judgmental because you pass a verdict on people without giving them a fair hearing. You are not open to reason anymore. So, on this episode, I want to encourage us to please don't fall into that trap of assuming things without confirming things. Don't assume you know until you really know. Assumptions are actually preconceived misconceptions about situations, things, and people based on perhaps your past experiences. You just assume, can anything come out of this relationship? You just assume, it's always the case. Can this person be trusted? And then you are shut down. And the Bible says, without your mind, I can do nothing. When you are shut down, even God cannot move. Because it is with your mind that you go into any relationship. It is with your mind that you go into any discussion. So when you keep assuming, it breaks down your communication channels. It leads to ultimate breakdown of communication. You are no longer open. You are shut down. You shut down the access to your heart. You shut down the access to your reasoning. You are no longer open. You are no longer open to even see another part of life. But when you stop being assumptuous, when you stop assuming things, it helps you to focus on the real thing. You see life the way it truly is, not the way you want to see it. You see, when we assume too much, we tend to see things only in our own way. We only see things our own way. We don't want to accommodate other people's perspective to things. We just want to feel we know it. It makes you to become arrogant somehow because you feel you know everybody. What is there to know? I know how it's going to end. Oh, I knew what he felt. I saw it when I saw his face. The way she behaved, I just knew. What do you know? You don't know anything. Perhaps if you allow the person to explain, you will be amazed of how wrong you have been. But because you just want to hold on to your assumption, you don't want to give room for the hair to be cleared out so you will understand. It's like a smoky screen. It's like a smoky screen. It's like a house full of smoke, a room full of smoke. That is what assumption is. Assumption is like a smoky room. It's full of smoke. So you'll be imagining what you are not seeing. In fact, are you even seeing clearly for you to say you really saw? It's like being in a dark room and imagining things. Yeah, I think it's better that way. Assumption is like being in a dark room and imagining things. Sometimes you imagine a monster coming towards you. Sometimes you imagine the table walking towards you. You just imagine a lot of things and you will be claiming that you saw. Oh, I saw it. I knew what I saw. And such people that assume a lot, they will say, I knew what I saw. I knew how I felt. I know my instincts cannot fail me. No, no, no. You are basing your judgment on assumption. You have not given room to the other person to explain to you. So assumption destroys relationships, damages trust, damages emotional connection. Oh, yes. When you keep assuming and keep reacting and acting on your assumptions, the other person in relationship with you will be tired, frustrated, drained, stressed, and confused. So assumption is very wrong. Do not assume things in your relationship. Try to find out. Be sure before you think it's true. Oh God. If people explain to you what they are going through, you will understand that sometimes facial expressions can be misleading. Some people look as if they don't need anybody. They are dying to have someone close to them. Don't just say, I read the person's facial expression. I read the person's body language. The person doesn't want anybody. No, you are not careful to understand the person. You have not asked questions. You just run along with your assumptions. So there are some things, toxic assumptions we make. There are some toxic assumptions we make that are detrimental to our relationships. Number one, assuming that you are being cheated upon. In relationships, that is the most toxic assumption that I can remember that happens in relationships. People just feel that your husbands are not faithful to them. And husbands feel your wives are not faithful to them. Friends feel your friends are not loyal to them. Relatives feel your relatives are not down with them. You just assume that you are being cheated upon. You assume that you cannot trust the person in relationship with you. You always feel, I know how it will end. You see, when you have that kind of assumption, it allows you to prepare the ground for it to really happen. Because you assume and you hold on to your assumption, you act according to your assumptions, and before you know it, you will push that person into that thing you expect the person to do in the first place that the person never did before. So number one toxic assumption that ruins relationship is the assumption of the fact that you are being cheated upon. You just believe that your spouse or the person in relationship with you is not faithful to you. Number one. Number two, you just assume that every time people come around you, they are coming to take from you. People come around you because of what they want to gain from you. You don't just believe that you attract genuine people into your life. You just feel that anybody that comes around you wants something from you. A person is looking for something. If someone is calling you, you are just assuming they want to ask for something. You are not open to communicate with people. So when you are even answering your calls, you are just like, hush, 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 because you don't want anything deep. You don't want them to go further, because the person calling you, of course, will sense your vibe, and then before the person will say something further. There are people you call, the way they answer you will not even say how are things getting on with you, because the person is not even open to discuss more. So that's another toxic assumption we make, that people that are calling us, people that are coming to our space, are looking for things from us, which is wrong. Another assumption we make is that we are not loved and appreciated. So we feel, we are doing so much for people, and people don't tend to, show us love or appreciate us back. But people have different ways of responding to kindness. Some people, you are kind to them, they will cry. Some people, you are kind to them, they will shy away from you because they just feel something left them, They just feel, oh, this person has seen my vulnerability. And the person might be thinking of how to get back to you with goodness, but you are expecting the person to lie down for you perhaps whenever you are passing, to say, Kabi, thank you, because if not for you, I would have died. You are expecting so much. So high expectations, unrealistic expectations that we make of people also draw us into wrong assumptions of people's behaviors. And then another assumption we make is that there is no good person in this life, no good man, no good woman. You can't trust anybody. Nobody can be trusted. Human beings, they are unrealistic, unreliable. They are not dependable. You can't trust anybody. So you assume that everybody that comes into your life cannot be trusted. So you don't deal with people with an open heart. What are we saying on this episode? Please stop assuming things that are not realistic. Find out before you conclude. Before you run along with a wrong, misconceived perception of anybody or any situation, find out the real truth. And sometimes, some of us that assume too much, we don't even allow ourselves to find out the truth. Is it because we don't just want that thing that we have held so close to our heart to be confirmed to be a lie? To be confirmed not to be true? We just feel this thing that I have assumed, it is the truth. It's my truth. That's why you hear people say, my truth, my truth. What's your truth? There is nothing like my truth. The truth is the truth. It's universal. You don't hold your truth against someone else's truth. So truth versus truth. There's only supposed to be one truth. There's always supposed to be one truth. The truth is the truth. So that's what happens. So there are toxic assumptions that we make that damages our relationship. We should stop. There is so much more. Of course, you know them. You can fill in the gap. The toxic assumptions you make that you know that are not healthy. Okay? Now, the dangers of assumptions. Number one is that when you assume too much, it leads to miscommunication and misunderstanding. You see, miss. All the missing you will miss. Because when you continue to assume things and you strain your relationship, there will be miss of everything. You misplace priority. You miss on quality time because it drains even your emotional connection. So miscommunication, misunderstanding abound in relationships full of assumptions. And then confusion and conflict. Every time there is something to be explained, and because the one that is assuming have closed up, has shut down, the other person cannot penetrate and present his or her case. So there is always strain, confusion, and conflict unresolved in relationship because one party has assumed wrongly and is not willing to change his or her mind concerning that thing. So you see, there's so much tension, there's so much strain in relationship, so much stress in relationship, such that we are no longer together. We are no longer open and not ashamed. Why? Because you are already misunderstood. So what else can you do? And the other person has refused to see reasons with you. So you two shut down. So we have two people in relationship that are not open to one another anymore because one person is holding to his own assumption, the other person is holding to his own assumption. So what am I saying? Being overly assumptuous, presumptuous about issues damages relationship. Assumption, what am I trying to say? Assumptions, unverifiable, whatever it is that you're holding on to. When you cannot verify a fact, a situation, if you cannot have proofs concerning what you are holding to be true, please stop it because it's damaging your relationship. Assumptions, unverifiable assumptions destroy relationship big time. All right, that's what it is. So now we have talked about the dangers of assumptions, and we made examples of some toxic assumptions that we make. What can we now do? Somebody will now ask me, how do I stop myself? How do I stop myself from being assumptuous, from always assuming things? How do I stop myself from always assuming things? How do I work on myself? Number one thing that you have to start doing is to ask questions. What you do not understand, please ask questions. Ask so that you will be told. Don't assume. Ask. Because if you ask questions, answers will be given. That's number one thing you should do. When you don't understand what is happening, when you don't feel right about a particular thing, ask questions and you will be cleared. That's one thing you have to do. And number two, stop running into conclusion. Stop it. Stop running into conclusion. Be open to reason with your partner. Be open to reason with your partner. Because if you are not open to reason with your partner, you will have so many issues unresolved and you will keep assuming. And the more you assume, the more your relationship is being strained. So please consider the other person's position and rethink what you have thought is true. Be open to rethink. Come, Another thing you can do is to stop reacting but respond to issues that arise. Assumptions make us to react and not respond. When you respond, you think through before you talk. But when you assume, you just run along with your assumption, you start reacting. So cultivate the attitude of responding to issues rather than reacting to issues. Another thing we can do also is to be open for communication. Let our communication channels in our relationships be open daily. Talk about things freely. Any issue that you are not clear about, talk about it, trash it out, and have an understanding so that whatever it is that you are standing on should be the truth and not assumptions. Okay? Another thing we can do also is to train our minds to see positive intentions in people and in our relationships. Train your mind. Don't always look out for negative intentions from people. Don't always say, I read the person's body language, I saw the person's facial expression, and I know what the person is thinking. And so because I think the person is thinking a particular thing, you begin to react in some certain way. And before you know it, there was no trouble, but trouble came because you assumed wrongly. So train your mind to always see positive intentions from people. It will help you to stop being assumptuous. Okay? And I also want us to move away from expectations and give room to shared understanding. One other thing you can do also is to move away from expectations. Rather, go closer to sharing understanding. Be available to understand. Be open to understand. Rather than you having so much expectations of people that you begin to assume things that are not real. Assumption is actually a smoke screen. You don't really know what you saw. You just felt you saw. And stop holding on to what you thought you saw, because sometimes looks can be deceptive. So another one danger I forgot to mention earlier that assumption do to us is that it makes us to make wrong decisions. And those wrong decisions have terrible consequences. Because except that you have made a decision based on the truth, whatever it is that you decide upon that you assume to be true that is not true, will give you a negative outcome, a negative consequence. So sometimes people walk away from relationship, from their jobs, from cycles that would have, improved your lives because of wrong assumptions. You just feel that everybody's against you, for example. And you say this place is uncomfortable. I can't stay in a place where everybody's against me. I would rather leave. But that's a wrong assumption because you don't even know what has happened in the life of one or two persons in that place that has, that has made them to react the way they reacted at that particular time. But your assumption is you are not welcome in the place. So it makes you to take wrong, hasty decisions that are detrimental to your own welfare, well-being, and your relationships. So what have I said on this episode? In conclusion, stop assuming things. Don't assume things. There is nothing wrong for you to ask questions and try to understand the real truth. Don't run along with assumptions because incorrect assumptions will destroy you, your reputation too, yes. It will hamper your personality, your behavior, and it will give a wrong signal. People can't even assess you. It makes you not to be known for who you truly are. People just assume that, this person is always assuming things. She's not open to thinking through. So you overthink. People that assume overthink. You know, when you overthink, you create pictures of different types of situations, of circumstances, of people and things around you. Because you overthink, you are like writing a script in your mind and then you come out with the script. But is it factual? Whatever you have not verified to be factual, please do not assume it to be true. Because if you don't work on that, it will continue to strain your relationship, put people in relationship with you under too much pressure. And you know what? People want peace. People want peace all over the world. Don't tell me what I have not said that you thought I said. Don't tell me what I have not felt you thought I felt. Don't say I feel it. You can't feel me. I have to feel myself. And I will have to tell you how I feel. Stop feeling for people and thinking for people and reacting according to what you felt and what you thought. Verify the facts. Give room for open communication. Be open to learn, to understand. Be open to be assessed. Stop shutting down on people and stop being difficult in your relationship because when you keep assuming things, you are becoming so difficult that people cannot assess you anymore. All right. So that's all I have for us on this episode. Telling you and I that assumption does not really have anything to offer a relationship but stress and strain. And if possible, and I know it's possible, we'll have to stop assuming things in our relationships so that we'll give room for everyone in relationship with us to fully express themselves to be understood. So avoid assumption by all costs in your relationships so you can enjoy your relationships and have more peace and harmony. And then your emotional connection also will be preserved when you stop being assumptuous, when you stop assuming things. You stop assuming things, you start looking out for the truth, you focus on the truth, and everyone in relationship with you is at peace. God bless you and God honor us. That's all I have for us on this episode. Please, on this episode, that's all I have for us on this episode. Please do like this video, send your comment, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Let's continue to be a blessing to as many that comes across these videos. So this is me, saying thank you so much. God bless you. God honor you. Bye.